He's my little soulmate, really. So Lenny was put forward for rehoming by his previous owner in the spring of 2020, which was when the first pandemic lockdown was enforced. So Cats Protection were not in a position to rehome him at that time. They weren't allowed to. So he was kept in their cattery at Corley for several weeks, possibly months even. They knew that we were looking for a cat. We'd lost our previous cat and offered us Lenny. So we took him on board, as I say, June 2020. He settled in very quickly. He was being used to a single male owner before. He immediately gravitated to me. Couldn't really be persuaded to have much to do with Ali, unfortunately. But he was a constant by my side. As it happened, not long after we took him in, I was made redundant also as a result of lockdown and pandemic. So we got to spend even more time getting to know each other in that summer. And we've been best of friends ever since. Even from before, when we were married, we had our first cat in 2001. Two of the first three cats we had lived long and happy lives. We lost them eventually through illness. But after that, we had two more cats that we didn't have for very long, both of whom fell victim to road traffic accidents, within sight of our own front door, which was very traumatic. And for a while we thought, we just can't face doing that again. We weren't necessarily desperate to have another cat. It was more the fact the opportunity came along for a cat with the right background, a cat that was used to being indoors and therefore would respond and be comfortable with that lifestyle. More recently, we've adopted a younger cat, Lara. We weren't sure how they would get on. I wouldn't say they're best of friends, but they get on well enough most of the time. Because I'm now at home more than I would have expected to be, because I took early retirement after being made redundant, probably more so. The process of, assimilating him into my life and having cats dominate our life was probably speeded up by the fact that I was home a lot more than I would have expected to be. So these days, he quite often wakes me up in the morning. If Ali hasn't fed him and Lara first, he'll come and let me know it's time to get up. He'll push his nose into my face. He quite often lies on me while I'm sleeping, and he certainly tells me when it's breakfast time. But certainly having somebody who is there all the time, Ali was working, so it wasn't like we were spending, although we spent a lot of time in the house together, we weren't sort of constantly talking or in each other's company, and he was there, as I say, on the arm of the chair the whole time. So he was a companion. He spends an inordinate amount of time just sitting there and enjoying my company, which is gratifying, really, to think you're that important to another creature. But he's my little soulmate, really, my special boy. So although I wasn't aware of going through any kind of mental health issues, I feel like he probably did make a difference I wasn't aware of, because he kind of reduced the risk of that kind of thing happening. Probably the other time is when we had the catio built. The first time after the builder completed the work, first time we let him through the flap and in, and then he jumped up on the ledge and looked out through the grill, and I was looking in from the outside, and he just nuzzled up to the grill, and I put my hand one side and he put his nose the other, and it was as if to say, oh, thanks for this, this'll do. Yeah, I don't need any more than this. So yeah, that was a special moment as well.
Everything. She's like my bestest friend. I had a chance meeting with somebody that was a fosterer for a rescue, bringing dogs over from Romania, and I wasn't looking for a dog, but she had a dog there, and I just loved her. And the lady said, can you help me rehome her? Do you know anybody? So I promoted her, and we didn't get anyone that was interested, and I went to see her again. And then that's how we adopted her, because I went and had that second meeting and thought, yeah, she needs to come home with us. So I think because we weren't really considering having another dog, and it was such a chance meeting that we saw her, but also my partner was swayed because I was working from home, and I think that had I not have been working from home, it's unlikely that we would have decided to adopt her. Probably would have still helped to get her the right home, but I don't think we would have adopted her. It was, well, I say it's luck. I don't think COVID was luck for everyone, but from a dog adoption point of view, it worked for us. 100% impact, because since adopting her, I've found out what goes on in other countries, especially in Romania, in terms of animals that are strays on the streets and the treatment of animals. So I have now helped coordinate that rescue where I had Susie from, and actually do sort of full-on volunteering for them in terms of coordinating and admin and trying to get homes for dogs and things like that. So from that point of view, my personal life is changed completely. But also just personally, having two dogs that are very different has been a huge learning curve, because my first dog, Nellie, she's a UK rescue staffy. Her character's completely different to Susie. So I've had to learn a lot. Love them both equally, but absolute chalk and cheese. Everything. She's like my bestest friend. She's brilliant in the car as well, which helps, because we can just get her in the car and we go places. We go to walks and parks. I can take her. If we go for a meal or something, she settles quite well. I took her away about 18 months ago. We went somewhere in the country and I took her with, and she was just brilliant. It was really hot anyway, but she just lied out in the sun on the patio, and she was just brilliant dog to take places. Yeah, she's really, really good. They're two girls, so I guess that, having two girls is interesting. I don't think they'll ever play together, but they do lie together sometimes when I'm working from home, and they just tolerate each other quite well. I think, to be honest, with lockdown, I kind of was cracking on fine, because I kind of enjoyed working from home. I liked the change. It was quite peaceful. There wasn't much traffic. So for me, there was a lot of things that were actually quite more simple in life. So, and obviously I did have Nellie anyway, but I think just I think the mental health side was that I was doing a really good thing, adopting a dog, especially a dog from abroad where animal rights and legislation is poor, and they really need the help. So I think from that point of view, from the compassion side, knowing that I've done, something that's really worthwhile, I think that was good for the mental health. And because then I got involved in the rescue a lot more, and I was doing a lot of video calls to people, and a lot of other bits and pieces, it just kept me busy when you couldn't go out at night and things like that.
I've got something to live for, haven't I? It was just on lockdown. I was quite lonely because I live on my own. And I said to my daughter, I've always had cats. This is my 7th cat. And I said, I'm going to have another cat. So she said, well, funny enough, there's one turned up at Bluecoat School. And she can't live there because they're right on the school premises. And the schools were about to open in September after the 2nd lockdown. And she arrived there very, very wet and very thin. And she was probably, the vet thought she was about 10 months when I had her. So she was probably about 6 months when she turned up. We didn't think she was owned by anybody, but when we took her to the vet, she's been spayed, so that meant somebody had owned her. She wasn't chipped, and we couldn't find an owner, so she came here. Well, because I was on my own, and there's when you start talking to the television, you realise that you're going a bit potty. I'm a hairdresser. I'm a mobile hairdresser, so I talk to people all the time. My job is talking. I just do hairdressing on the side. So she's someone to talk to, and I do. Well, I've got something to live for, haven't I? I know I've got my family, I've got grandchildren, but I've got to get up in the morning because she wakes me up in the morning. She's very demanding. She likes food because she was starved. She likes food and she'll do anything for food, which would be sitting on your face to wake you up. She does everything that I don't allow cats to do in my house. Sleeps on my bed, tries to eat off my plate, and she will take food. If you put your plate down, she'll have it. So I just wanted somebody to be there. Well, she's settled in. I think that's the best thing. Because I thought she might be feral, you see, if she was so young and she wasn't living with anyone. And she just took this as her home. And she has tried to live with other people, I might add, because she'll go anywhere if you feed her. So she likes food a great deal and will overeat till she's sick because she hasn't got a full button. I wouldn't have said I had a mental health problem. I'm not that sort of person. I just get on with life. But yeah, certainly it's, I mean, now everything's back to normal, isn't it? Which it's not quite normal. It's not like it was, but yeah, it's just nice to have a companion, I think. I mean, I don't place her above my children or my grandchildren, but they all love her. They all come, and my grandson, she likes him to brush her. She likes being brushed, so he brushes her. My granddaughter can do anything with her, but she's her own person. She won't sit on my knee and give me cuddles, no way. But that's what you accept. They've got a personality.